Hello and welcome to the Comic Schtick Podcast, the podcast where comics are my shtick. My name is Blake T. Wild. You may also know me as Smokey's Videos. And on this week, we are talking about musicals based on other properties. That means musicals based on movies, based on comic books, based on video games? If there's anything like that, I don't know. Find out later, or just go to the timecode now, because I put all the timecodes in the description. We'll also be talking about some comic stuff and a lot more what's coming in terms of movies and shows. There's not a whole lot going on aside from the Obi-Wan Kenobi finale and Miss Marvel episode 3. Miss Marvel episode 3. Also, The Boys. So yeah, let's just get right into it. Starting this off with some comic discussion, I was contacted by some very kind gentlemen who are creating a comic called EroTech. I assume that's how you pronounce it. EroTech. And they sent me a PDF file of the comic to read and then, just talk about and review. And so I've finally had the chance to do that. I've talked about this recently. I've been very busy recently, so I've just been fucking falling asleep as soon as I get home. And I haven't been able to read barely any fucking comics. It's been awful. But anyway, I got to read EroTech, and I got a little sneak peek. And EroTech it's a Kickstarter. I think they went through Kickstarter, one of the crowdfunding websites, and they blew it out of the water with how much money they asked for and how much they got. So it's coming. But EroTech, what is it? Without giving too much away, it is about a woman named Samantha who is in charge. I'm not sure I can't remember what the position this would be. She's the head of this division of this company that makes sex robots. And the big company is releasing a new version of a sex robot. I can't remember what it is exactly, what the number. It's something 3,000 or 6,000. I can't remember off the top of my head, but she's in charge of this new release and getting this new upgraded sex robot out into the public for consumer consumption. And so it's about her and her small team of people and this one poor fucking guy who has to be the test subject for the robot. And it is a great story. It opens up with the test subject getting a handy and things go wrong, and just the whole it's really fun because they play with it's like a countdown timer almost, in that every couple pages there will be a it'll have the time in the upper left hand corner, so it's you can feel the tension of her business day and trying to get all this shit done and trying to just ready themselves and try to fucking fix all these problems for this fucking robot. I can't remember what the time span is. I think it's 3-4 weeks, maybe. I can't remember how long they have, but, it's about her, and she's fucking dealing with these assholes at her job that don't respect her. It's corporate sexism and everything, but it is a very fun story. The art is great. I really dig the coloring. It has that sort of retro, faded look with, textures on it. I love that shit. So I definitely recommend this. Check it out. EroTech. I'll leave the links and everything to it in the description. So if anybody's interested, check it out there. Like I said, it was through the Kickstarter. So I'm not entirely sure, what is going on with that currently. I haven't been following it for that much recently. So yeah, I'll leave all the links that I can for you to learn more about EroTech below. So check that out. Next discussion is about Jurassic League number 2. I'm very glad that I hopped on the Jurassic League train, unlike everybody else who did not, because apparently the first issue sold out. I doubt the second one will. Maybe it will. Who knows? Because I know they had to reprint issue 1. But issue 2 deals with the... when we last left off, Metrargopolis was being attacked by Giganta and Bizarro Saur, or whatever his name is. They're fighting Super Sor, who's Superman but a dinosaur, and they're kidnapping the denizens of Metropolis. And we finally learn why. He last was fighting Joker Zard, the Joker Zerd. It's like Lizard and Joker combined. It's dumb. His design looks a lot cooler than his name. So he's fighting them, and then he makes his way to Metropolis when he notices the smoke raising in the distance. And he's also accompanied by a little cave boy that he saved, who's going to eventually become Robin. But the problem is that the cave boy and Batsor, they can't speak to each other, because Batsor speaks dinosaur and Cave Boy speaks human. But luckily, Super Sor can speak both, because he's a man of both worlds. Anyway, they fight against Giganta and Bizarrosaur, whatever his name is, and they get fucked up. They fail. The villains escape with the humans, and then we see what is Slash, Reverse Slash, because, instead of Flash, so it's a dinosaur with super speed powers, carrying Joker to this massive underground cavern, where Atrocitosaurus Rex, or whatever his name is, Atrocitus was like what is he, Red Lantern? Orange Lantern? I can't remember which. I think it's Red Lantern. In the normal universe, there is another one of those giant trees that we saw in the first issue that's made of fucking people. It's made out of people. And it is just so disgusting, and Joker Zard is on his last line of death, or last line of life. He's about to die, so they lay him down next to the tree, and they get this fucking umbilical cord thing, like a root from the tree that's like a meaty umbilical cord, and they just put it in his mouth, and I don't know what sort of viscous fluid is flowing into his mouth, but whatever it is, it heals him and perks him back up. And then they're like, yeah, we gotta get our plans into action, or whatever. Go evil. And this thing is called the Dark Embryo. So, yeah, we're learning more about that storyline. This weird occult fucking eldritch horror that is going on in this fun little story where the superheroes are dinosaurs. Meanwhile, the Giganta and Bizarrosaurus Rex, or whatever, are heading back to the Dark Embryo when they are stopped by Wonder Dawn, who is Wonder Woman if she was a Triceratodon. She's a fun design, and the best part, because I think I talked about this when I talked about the first issue, is that she didn't really have much to do in the first issue. I didn't find that section very interesting. But in this one, she is flying an invisible pterosaur. So instead of an invisible jet, she has an invisible pterosaur, and it is hilarious. And she spots these two giant dinosaurs kidnapping humans, and she realizes she has to put a stop to it, so she tries to fight them, and Giganta fucking punches her away, and she lands, and she readies herself to return to battle, and then Super Sor and Batsor show up, and it's like that scene from Batman v Superman almost, but better and good. And that's how this issue ends. These are it's packing a lot into each issue. There's several pages where it's 8 or 9 panels, and it's a really creative way. They're not doing a traditional grid style or anything. They're getting creative with it, and so it's just a very fast-paced storytelling. So that'll definitely be good when this is released in trade paperback. But for now, it's just oh my gosh, I just want more. It just goes by so quickly. And that's coming from me, someone who takes 20 to 30 minutes to read a single issue of a comic book, because I'm just a very slow reader. But yeah, Jurassic League is fantastic. I highly recommend it. Check that out as well. Continuing the comic discussion with some comic book news. This relates to Miracle Man. coming to Marvel. We already discussed this, I think, last week or the week prior. But now they have announced that there is going to be a way for them, or Marvel's going to be celebrating Miracle Man's 40th anniversary with Miracle Man #0. Gotta love #0 issues. This is going to be a combination of seemingly, what's his name? Neil Gaiman's story that he was working on, like, fucking however long ago that was. Alongside, like, who all is it? It's Mark Buckingham and Neil Gaiman are working on it. I should have looked this up beforehand. So, Miracle Man, it's going to be, let's see, they're going to be seemingly continuing the Neil Gaiman issues or series in this one-shot, giant-size one-shot, as it says on Marvel.com. With stories by superstars Jason Aaron and Mike Carey, legendary writer-artist Ty Templeton, and acclaimed artist Ryan Stegman. So, let's see. Plus, Neil Gaiman and Mark Buckingham will deliver an exciting prelude to their upcoming new chapter of Miracle Man. So, in a way, it's a continuation of the Neil Gaiman thing that he did. But it's also, like, I don't know. I have no idea. So that's cool, I guess. I hope to God they just do not fucking... Well, I guess we kind of know that they are, but I'm not looking forward to Miracle Man interacting with the mainstream Marvel Universe in any way. Even if he doesn't end up staying in the main Marvel Universe, I don't care about it anyway. Or either way. And, there's a lot of discussion online about the like an ongoing Miracle Man series by either Jason Aaron or Donny Cates. Both writers I don't particularly care about or care for. So that'll be interesting. I don't think I'm going to get this. If anything, like I've said before when I discussed Miracle Man, I'm probably just going to get the omnibus that reprints the original series, or however many that has. Might have some of the other stuff in there as well. I'm looking forward to Ty Templeton. I love Ty Templeton. He's a really nice guy. I love his art. Great artist. But the fact that Ty Templeton is working on this doesn't really scale up my feelings on buying this one shot just for him. Probably because the one shot's gonna be like $6 or $7, I bet. Or I'd imagine. Does it even say? I don't think they have the price or pre-orders for it yet. That's the thing that's happening. Miracle Man. Stay tuned to hear more about that, maybe. Moving on to some mixed media. And this is Batman Unburied Season 2. They have officially announced that Batman Unburied is getting a Season 2. Batman Unburied, if you're unfamiliar with it, you may have seen various YouTubers having a text scrolling across the bottom of the screen like a news footage reel that only says Batman Unburied or whatever it says while they do their ad read. Batman Unburied is like an audio drama that is... it's like it's a Batman podcast. It's a Batman, like, radio drama that was incredibly successful. I never listened to it. Never got around to that. But it's very critically acclaimed, I think. It's very well received, at least. A lot of people really dig it. So it's done quite well enough for them to get a Season 2. So that's really cool. Maybe with the success of Season 2, they'll continue to, do more radio dramas. Like Superman or Wonder Woman or The Question or Nightwing. I don't know. Just listing off characters. So that's cool for the people who, dug Season 1. I don't know how Season 1 ended. I don't know the story at all. But for some reason, a part of me wants to think that they did the whole storyline of Thomas Wayne being evil. Which I don't care about. Moving on. Remember a little while ago I was talking about the Conan the Barbarian license being removed from Marvel and put back into that company that owns it. That company that does collectibles and trading cards and fucking whatever bullshit. Well, They have sold that license. Well, they've, not sold it. They've granted, acquired rights to it for Titan Comics to use the license for Conan the Barbarian, which means that there are new books coming and reprints, and Titan will be, I guess, just continuing to print new Conan stories. So hopefully, I don't know, I feel like I prefer the Dark Horse run of Conan, if anything. I don't know, I feel like that's the most well-received Conan, at least in terms of being truer to the original Robert E. Howard character. But hopefully they can, get something new going. Titan Comics currently publishes Doctor Who. They've done Blade Runner, Cowboy Bebop, apparently. But it's not just the Conan the Barbarian license. They also have access to Solomon Kane, who was like a... he's like Van Helsing, essentially. and it's basically that, kind of. Dark Agnes, who I'm not very familiar with, and Kull the Conqueror, who's another similar, fantasy warrior man. So that's really cool. I would be interested in checking out a Solomon Kane story or comic book series. That seems like it would be something up my alley, something a little more occult, magical maybe. So I'd like to see if they do anything interesting with those other characters, or if they just primarily stick to Conan. Speaking of fantasy, Lord of the Rings of Power, whatever the fuck this movie is gonna be, they've released official Orc Pics. We got our sights and our peepers on some Orc Pics. So that's cool. They look a lot better than they did in The Hobbit, because these aren't CG. This is full-on makeup and prosthetics, and they fucking look incredible. Just top of the line, fantastic makeup, fantastic designs. I really dig it. I still don't know what this Lord of the Rings of Power is. I assume it's like, I don't know, is it the Great War against Sauron or something? I don't know. Is this how Sauron loses his rings and before everybody took one for themselves, or whatever happens? I don't know if they've said anything yet. I haven't really looked it up. But speaking of something I do know a little more about, and that is Stranger Things Season 4 Volume 2. The trailer came out last week or the week prior, can't remember when. And Season 2 airs today when you're watching this. I still haven't seen it by the time this comes out. So that's okay, because I'll be talking about it next week. So stay tuned for that. God almighty, I'm not looking forward to, oh my god, it's gonna be fucking, they're so long. The episodes are so long, and it's only 2 of them. But yeah, check that out. Speaking of another new season of a show, Invincible, the smash hit from Robert Kirkman. That is Invincible Season 2, possibly has a release date. They released on the Instagram, or not the Instagram, the Twitter. They might have done Instagram, I don't know. I saw it on Twitter. The Invincible official account released a photo of Duplicate with the caption, "She's a 10, but she's also a 7, 14, and 23. So, there's no 14th month, so it's not written in the way that everybody else in the world does it for dates. But seemingly, Invincible Season 2 is coming out July 14th, 2023. That seems about right, I guess, based on, it's been about 2 or 3 years since the first one came out. I feel like Invincible, on social media, has been picking back up on their, posting and, interaction. So I feel like a trailer is on its way. But this, assuming that is true, and it's not just fucking 3 random numbers whoever runs that account chose, Invincible Season 2 is coming out July 14th, 2023. We still got a fucking year to wait. But hopefully, I would imagine it's well worth it, since they're seemingly taking their time on this. Another thing we gotta wait for, for another year is The Boys Season 4. It officially begins filming on in August 2022. Apparently August 22nd, 2022 is the specific date. But yeah, they're already filming Season 4 of The Boys. I wonder how many seasons The Boys is going to run. Because really, what other streaming shows in a similar vein to this have gone on for like 4 or 5 seasons? I'm sure there's like those fucking dumb reality ones, like Masked Singer. Those fucking things, they pump that shit out. There's like 2 seasons a year. I know, because I have to watch them all. My ring fell off. But like, I just don't know when are they going to wrap this up? I hope it doesn't go. I hope they don't overdo themselves and go too long. But I could see this going for like 6 seasons, maybe 7. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. went for 7 seasons, and that's an amazing, perfect show. So hey, why not follow their lead? Speaking of new stuff, Spy Kids. There's a fucking announcement that Spy Kids is going to be rebooted for Netflix. Skydance and Spyglass are also working alongside them. And it's going to star Gina Rodriguez, Zachary Levi, Everly Carganalina, I've never heard. I have no idea who this is. Carganalina, I don't know. And Connor Esterson are all going to be starring in it. So, yeah, we got a new Spy Kids coming. Hopefully, it's better than the last 2 or 3 that they made. I don't know how many there have been. I wonder if Robert Rodriguez is going to work on this at all. I feel like he's not. I feel like, if anything, he's just going to be like a producer, an executive producer on it. Just get that credit under his belt. But, yeah, so that's cool. Hopefully it's good. Not like that piece of shit Home Alone movie that came out last year or the year prior. But it is on Netflix, which means I do not see this lasting very long. And I believe it is a movie. I don't think it's a show or anything. Oh boy, are you ready to learn about everybody's favorite maniac gender fluid individual, Ezra Miller? Ezra Miller, continued as this topic is called, is that recently came out that Ezra Miller has somehow flown themselves from Hawaii to Vermont. God damn, how did they do that? How did Ezra Miller just sneak off from Hawaii, get to fucking Vermont? Because now it's come out that Ezra Miller is allegedly housing 3 children and their mother on their very large, very illegal Vermont cannabis farm. Holy shit. Also, it's apparently in an unsafe environment because, well, one, they seemingly just sort of leave all the weed sitting around, and 2, there's apparently just guns everywhere. So how long has Ezra Miller had this pot farm for? And how long have they just been letting people stay around here like this? This is some... Goddamn, this is going to be like... Once this is all over, once everything ends with however this ends for Ezra Miller, this is going to be turned into a very interesting limited series or movie in a couple years. It's like a fucking... It's slowly approaching levels of Manson family. I'm just waiting for the day that Ezra Miller says that The Weeknd wrote a song about the racial war that is coming. The father of those children also claims that he has tried to retrieve his kids from the farm, but the mother calls him a violent and abusive ex. So it's a he said, she said case of complete hearsay. All we know, though, is that Ezra Miller does have a Vermont pot farm. So yeah, stick around next week because I'm sure there's going to be more to talk about from that. Multiverse of Madness. This is a movie that I'm going to continue to talk about for as long as humanly possible. I actually rewatched it this past weekend on Disney Plus in IMAX, their IMAX version. So it's whiter. It's not cut off by the letterbox black bars. So that was a very cool visual little treat. I was hoping to get my Blu-ray Steelbook that I pre-ordered from Best Buy in by now, but I still have not. So I really want to check out those special features. I'm so excited to listen to the commentary. But this is just a little bit that I thought that was cool. Producer Richie Palmer of the film revealed, I believe on Twitter or somewhere, I don't know, maybe in an article or an interview, that they used a scan of Elizabeth Olsen's eyes to create Gargantos's giant eyeball in a way to, apparently, as it says in this thing that I copied and pasted from Twitter, as a way to foreshadow the film's real villain. Dun dun dun. Like nobody knew that was Scarlet Witch. But that's just really cool. Gargantos, it's that giant octopus thing with the giant eye. It's not Shumagorath, as a lot of people say. Also in What If, the Captain Carter episode, that cannot be Shumagorath either. It can be a giant tentacle monster that, hey, it might be Shumagorath, it might not be, but legally, Marvel is not allowed to use Shumagorath because, this goes back to something I talked about earlier, Shumagorath was a creation of Robert E. Howard, the guy who wrote and created Conan the Barbarian. So Marvel legally does not own that character or that name, so they can't fucking use it in anything. And especially not now that they don't have the license to Conan the Barbarian anymore. So hey, don't go selling your Shumagorath first appearance in what was that, Marvel Premiere, I think? Because he's not going to be appearing in any fucking MCU movies anytime soon. Oh yeah, speaking of movies, what a great segue. I'm getting better and better in these every episode. I saw Lightyear. It is, it seems to be kind of divisive, apparently. At least what I see comments on Facebook about posts about it. But who gives a shit about Facebook? It is great. I thought it was, it's an enjoyable movie. I wouldn't say it's great. I'll say it's really good. It is just, it's a lot of fun. It is. I had so much fun with this movie. I was not expecting to like it as much as I did. I really enjoyed Chris Evans as, I forgot his name, as Buzz Lightyear. Duh. Socks, however, was so fucking cute and so hilarious. He is my favorite character of the film, which I'm sure everybody says is the best part of the movie, is that little robot cat. It's such a fucking funny character. What else do I have to say? I'm not going to talk about spoilers here. Obviously, I always talk about spoilers. I did find Buzz's mission pretty selfish because when he's test piloting the ships for the hyperspace, he's like, come on, we got to keep going. We got to go back. We got to go back. Let's do it again. Do it again. But for him, only like a couple minutes pass each time. But for everybody else, they have to do all this stuff, launch Buzz, wait 4 years, and then he comes back and he's like, all right, let's go again. Like, goddamn, Buzz, have like a little fucking respect for the other people. Have a little awareness of what is happening, which, he eventually kind of does. But yeah, that just, I don't know, something felt off to me about that. Like, it did feel selfish of Buzz to do that. Although, he was trying to get them out of there, like, at a certain point, goddamn. The Zurg twist, I spoiled that for myself by reading a discussion about it, so that wasn't a surprise to me, but it was cool trying to, see if they left any allusions to it being Buzz from, like, the future timeline stream fuckery that happens. I liked it well enough. It was fine. It implies that well, it doesn't imply, he outright says that that ship is not his. He is, quote-unquote, borrowing it. So, and also he appeared like hundreds of years in the future to find this abandoned ship once owned by the evil Emperor Zurg. So it makes sense that something had happened to Zurg. He's not around anymore, and Buzz from the past, now in the distant future, steals his ship and travels back in time. The ending also mentions like Quadrant Sector 4 or something like that, which I believe is where Zurg is based out of, and I think the video game from the second Toy Story movie, they talk about that. They mention that Zurg is from that sector. So hey, if there's a sequel, maybe we'll see that. Also, if there is a sequel, I hope it has the characters from the cartoon show. I hope it has that hot blue alien woman. Also, one more thing before I move on, is that there's a fun little Easter egg where when Buzz, Kiki Palmer, Taika Waititi, and the old lady, when they are in that storage, what is that thing called? Where the ship is housed. What the fuck is that thing called? It's like a arch building that goes back. What the fuck is that? Why am I blanking on that? Whatever that's called. When they're putting on the suits and they find all the suits and everything, you can see the Scream canisters from Monsters Inc. like along the wall, just beneath all the equipment. So that's a fun little thing they put in there. Moving on to something that probably won't be as fun. There's some more news about Madam Web, the upcoming Sony film starring Dakota Johnson, Samara Weaving, others. But this is that. Emma Roberts has been cast in the film to appear. No word on who she is playing, but, people are like, oh, it's Gwen Stacy. Who knows? She could be fucking Silver Sable. She could be Beetle, the female version of Beetle. That's Tombstone's daughter. I'm looking at my Spider-Man stuff right now, trying to figure out who else she could be. She could be, what the fuck is her name? Damn, what is her name? The fucking I can't remember. The stupid Jackpot. There you go. I had to say the Mary Jane quote. She could be Jackpot for all we know. That would have worked better if I could remember her fucking name. But all this means to me is that I now have to go see this movie because I love Emma Roberts. I have a huge celebrity crush on her. Well, I guess it's just a crush. I have a huge crush on her. She is just another celebrity that I've realized, that has made me realize that I have a very specific type. And that is, it's like skinny white women with extremely long necks who are actors. Audrey Hepburn, Anya Taylor-Joy, Thomasin McKenzie, Emma Roberts. The list goes on. That's just something I discovered about myself a while ago. Or a little while ago. I don't know. But yeah, fuck. I love Emma Roberts, even though there's all those, like, oh, is she abusive, blah, 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 with Evan Peters? Who knows? That's in the past. It's in the past. Okay. But goddamn, does she do an incredible job of playing a bitch in a movie or a show. Scream Queens is fucking incredible. Go check out Scream Queens if you haven't already. I've never watched the second season just because I heard it's not very good. But the first season is like, it's basically a Scream, but even funnier. It is an incredible show. Emma Roberts is fantastic in it. So I hope that she sort of plays like a bitchy character in this. Just because it's such a fucking treat when she does. Yeah. Madam Web. Stay tuned. Get your tickets soon. Now moving on to The Boys Episode 6. And this is Herogasm. Herogasm. It was built up to be, oh, it's banned. It's fucking, don't watch this episode if you fucking can't stand anything, this and that, blah, blah, blah. It was built up so much, it was a huge disappointment to me. Not the episode itself, but Herogasm. Because in the comics, Herogasm is essentially what really happens when all the heroes come together for a big crossover event to save the world. They go to this, like, secret island or something, and it's just fucking all day. This was just an orgy. It was an orgy with some people in costumes and a guy who's, like, on fire and a guy with a super long dick. It wasn't anything insane like I thought it would be. The superhero club scene from the first season was worse than this in terms of just, like, degeneracy. This was, like, tame for what everybody assumed it would be. So that was a disappointment. I wanted to see something really fucking weird. I mean, we did get the deep fucking an octopus. But other than that, it was pretty tame. The Imagine opening with Deep leading a group, like, chorus of actors into singing Imagine. That was fucking hilarious. I was so confused what was happening. And then he sort of started singing, and then it cut to Patton Oswalt singing along. And I was like, oh, I see. That was really fun. It was cool seeing Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis, because when was the last time they were in anything? I wonder if A-Train is going to die. Like, I wonder if he's just dead now. Is he gone? What is going to happen to him? If he is dead, I'm glad he went out the way he did, which was killing Blue Hawk. Thank God that fucking piece of shit's gone. The interesting thing about the death of Blue Hawk is that it's very similar to lynchings. Lynchings, you know, they would often, how am I wording this to be as less, fuck it, who cares? It's a terrible thing that happened, and we need to, don't sugarcoat it is what I'm getting at. So lynchings, what would often happen, a lot of times they would steal a black man's shoes just to degrade him. But that's usually after they hanged him, sorry. They would tie a black man to, or just a black person in general, to either like a truck or a car or a horse, and they would just fucking drag them for like an hour or however long they decided until they wanted to do something else. So it was very cathartic to see this piece of shit Blue Hawk getting dragged by his heels across fucking, like, burning pavement that just tears him up. Yeah, and then, you know, fucking, that was just very nice to see. I'm glad that they fucking offed that character. Although the actor is very good in the role. I feel like he would be a good Mario from Super Mario in, like, a live action. Like I said, Herogasm was a disappointment, but the foursome at the end of the episode made up for it. That fucking fight was fantastic. I love that we saw the differences between Soldier Boy and Homelander. Soldier Boy is actually trained for combat, whereas Homelander just sort of, he swings his arms, and if you get in his way, that's not his fault. It reminded me of the fight scene from Infinity War between Thanos and the Avengers on Titan. And finally, my last note on The Boys is, goddammit, Jack Quaid, just show your dick. Moving on to Obert-Wan Benobi, Episode 6. I'm kind of sad. That's the last time I'll get to say Obert-Wan Benobi is this episode. Well, until the second season comes out, if there is one. I hope there is an Obert-Wan Benobi Season 2. I'm just going to go down the checklist, try and get this episode moving, because I still got my musical topic that I really want to talk about. So I hope that Kumail Nanjiani does not stick around to Alderaan for that long. You know, in 9 years, all those people are going to be wiped from existence. Obi-Wan, this episode, and like this whole season, but mostly this episode, it really made me realize how much of like a death wish he has. Just in, you know, he has nothing in his life and he's fine if he dies. I did not like that Reva went after Luke, but I do like the Tusken Raider excuse that they give him. But goddamn, Reva, you fucking hypocrite! Like, she doesn't kill him in the end, but still, she was planning on it. Also, I fucking wish that some Star Wars characters who are bad would stay bad. I know she got, like, turned to the dark side and was corrupted and fucking whatever else, who knows. But I've said it before, I believe, when I've talked about this show, is that keep her evil to show the effect that the Empire has had on people like her. Don't forget, all the Inquisitors were like former Jedi and Padawans that were captured and essentially brainwashed. It annoys me every time it happens. It annoys me that there's good in people. So I didn't care for that at all. And like I said, I wish that, you know, she would have, like, you know, not have gotten to the homestead by then. Also, I wish that she would have died. That's my biggest thing, is that she's not dead. She's still alive in the universe, which means that we have to see her be a hero some more, doing some smuggling or going on a vision quest in her own comic book series titled The Lost Sister or something like that, I'm sure. So yeah, that's alright. I don't care. The Vader versus Kenobi, awesome. Fantastic. I really dig it. Anakin is dead. Vader says it himself, and he looks like the fucking devil. That scene made me tear up. Just the expression on Obi-Wan's face. It's making me, like, get my eyes watery right now, even as I'm speaking about it. Just that scene in general, it just, you know, it brings back my emotions of when I would watch, you know, episode 3. And when Obi-Wan is just sobbing and telling Anakin that he was his brother, he loved him, that makes me cry every time. And this was basically that, but, you know, they still don't have closure on what happened between them. Obi-Wan, I saw so many people were like, oh, why didn't Obi-Wan kill Darth Vader? This is dumb. And, you know, first of all, it's because there's still 6 fucking movies that have to come out. 3 of which star Darth Vader. Second, Obi-Wan cannot kill Darth Vader. That's not who he is. That's not who he has ever been. He just cannot bring himself to do it. He keeps going on about how Darth Vader and Anakin needs to die, but every time he gets to the point where he can make it happen, or at least try to, like, every time he'll look at him, he'll see that boy that he raised like an older brother / surrogate father. He'll see his brother. He'll see the person that he spent his life with for nearly 20 years. And then he looks upon his former best friend, his brother, the brother that he loved unconditionally, even though they did annoy each other a couple of times, along with the Cave of Gundarks. And then he just looks back at him again. And before, it was all right because, like, you know, he knew it was Anakin, but, like, he thought Anakin died on Mustafar. That was all good and well. He could eventually maybe move past that, but not really. But then when he learns that Anakin is alive as Darth Vader, it's different when he's looking at him in the mask versus when he can see what has happened to him. And Anakin just looks, like I said, devilish. He's a ghoul of a man. And he's just continues to just be filled with hatred for his master, for his brother, for this person that, you know, that Obi-Wan loved. And he just, you know, it's just so fucking sad that he wants to in essence, or like, he basically wants to end Anakin's torment and hatred and pain, but he just can't bring himself to kill that young man, that little kid from Tatooine that he knew 10, 15 years ago. Palpatine. That was a fun cameo. I wasn't expecting it, which is, now that I'm looking back at it, I'm surprised that I didn't see that coming. They also finally played the Imperial March during that scene, I believe. Obi-Wan at the very end sort of starts dressing like the Mythos Obi-Wan Kenobi, which it was like a comic book design, and it became an action figure and Hot Toys, and it's one of the most customized versions of Obi-Wan toys there are for the Star Wars Black Series. I did one. I know. So that was a cool little nod. He has like the goggles, the sleeveless cloak. I was just waiting for him to put on a backpack with like a mini moisture evaporator on it. Also, finally, Qui-Gon has finally learned how to be a Force ghost. I never thought it would happen. I thought he would always just stay as a little ball of light and a voice. But apparently he somehow did it. In the expanded universe, he never does. But now I guess he does. I'm ambivalent towards it. I do like that Qui-Gon's like, finally you're here. Finally you see me. Something like that. When it's like, motherfucker, it took you like 20 years to learn how to be a Force ghost. I wouldn't be the one blaming Obi-Wan for being late to the party. Now let's move on to another Disney Plus show, that being Miss Marvel Episode 3. Miss Marvel Episode 3. Gonna do the same thing, go down the list. Spoilers, obviously, and I'll go on tirades and tangents here and there. I do believe that was a CARRIE in the opening, cold open, the segment, the flashback in the opening with like Kamala's ancestor, grandmother, whoever. Blue skin, have a fancy bangle on that's magical, or not magical, it's like technologically advanced, like CARRIE stuff. We're going to be learning more about that, I'd assume, because the knockoff Eternals that we learn about, calling themselves the Jinn, I can't remember what their comic book name is. Can't remember. I believe that they are also an experiment by the CARRIE as like some sort of cosmic force to just fuck up planets or something. Maybe not, though, because this sort of... It reminded me of the Runaways, in that there are... Mostly the Runaways show, because the Gibberum, they're like this other dimensional alien species that are trapped in our dimension, and that's seemingly what they're going with here for the Jinn. The Jinn, or singular, Jinni, I assume, that's how you pronounce it. I was going to explain sort of what they are, because I'm into, fucking weird occult mythology stuff, but they do a pretty good explanation of it in the show, I think. If I remember correctly. The Jinn, they're not ghosts, they're not demons, they're sort of like their own thing with their own, cultures, and like there's different versions of them, like there are humans, blah, blah, blah. So it's not all just one thing, it's an all-encompassing category, I guess. That's going back to them being Jinn. That's the reason why Kamala's family hid that bangle, I believe, so that the group of the knockoff Eternals could not find it. When Kamala looks at her little face mask that she's gifted for some reason, I'm not sure what that's for. Is that a ceremonial, traditional thing? She never wears it, at least not yet. I don't know why she really got that. Why that was given to her. But the yellow accents on it reminded me of Hellcat. I don't know, that's just something I've thought of. Bruno, we see him studying the Einstein-Rosen bridge, which makes me think, assuming that comes back in any way, because I wrote these notes as I'm watching the episodes, so we later learn that he's just sort of researching into what might happen if they open the dimension portal. But I feel like he might figure out a way to stop the Jinn from coming or going back to their dimension. Because he's a really smart kid. He's doing all the research and everything, so I feel like he's probably going to be vital in stopping them in some way. The dance number and Brown Jovi was fantastic. That was really fun to see the dance at Kamala's brother's wedding. Living on a Prayer, however, was not used very well at all. Nothing happens in that scene. It's just... like, what the fuck even happens in that scene? Living on a Prayer starts, and you're like, oh, okay, so it's going to be a fight scene set to Living on a Prayer. No, it's just like Kamala sneaking around, running around whatever this building is that they're at, and people running outside because a fire alarm was pulled. Nothing interesting happens, and then the song ends right before the actual fight begins. They should have just saved Living on a Prayer for the fight scene. It kind of feels like they accidentally, like, they didn't move it over in the editing timeline where it should be, so it started too early as opposed to the fight scene where it should have played. I have no idea what this comment means. Jurassic Park scene. Jurassic Park scene. What happens in episode 3 of Ms. Marvel that's like Jurassic Park? Oh, that's right. It's been a week since I wrote these, and I've only been getting like 5 or 6 hours of sleep a night, and I've been working every day for like about the past month, so the days are just merging in on one another. So forgive me for my misrememberings. The Jurassic Park scene, that was me talking about the fucking kitchen scene where they're hunting Kamala through the kitchen, and it's almost exactly like Jurassic Park. The Soul Train shows up. That was cool, I guess. That was an interesting visual. And something that I want to know is that Kamala, her mother, somehow knows that she was with the Jinn. I think it's after they get arrested or something. Kamala goes home and she's like, those people you were with got arrested or something like that. But how did she know that? Kamala's mother was outside in the front of the building with everybody else, and Kamala wasn't anywhere near the Jinn during the party because they didn't show up. Earlier, they showed up specifically to attack her. So, I don't know, that's just a weird bit of writing mishap, seemingly. It's like, just an error that it seemingly happened. Also, how the fuck is is Kamala gonna get to... where does she have to go? Karachi? Is that where they say she has to go? Her grandmother? I can't remember. I think it might be Karachi. How is she going to get there? I assume that she's going to use her powers and fly around the world or something, and there's going to be a joke about like how she has bugs in her mouth or something like that. But yeah, Ms. Marvel continues to excite me and entertain me and just be a hilarious, fun, kind-hearted, just romp, and I am loving every episode of it. I cannot wait to watch episode 4. It's what I'm looking forward to most each week. I love this show. It's my favorite Disney Plus Marvel show. Moving on, finally, to musicals based on other properties. Now, I've had this topic written down in my notes in my phone for possible episode topics. I've had it written there for a while, since the first episode. It was one of the things that I thought of that I could talk about. So I've been holding on to this for quite some time. At least 19 weeks. God almighty, I can't believe it's been 19 weeks. But, with the recent announcement that Joker 2, French's Fancy, is going to be a musical, I figured why not talk about some musicals based on other properties. I personally really love musicals, especially when they're based off of stuff I already like. One of my favorite films, I think I talked about it when I was talking about Joker 2, French's Fancy, the musical, is Umbrellas of Cherbourg. I still have no idea how to pronounce this word. It's Cherbourg. URG, I believe. Cherbourg. I don't know. It's French. It's an incredible musical that from start to finish, there's no spoken dialogue. Everything is sung. And it is a beautiful film. The story is bittersweet, but I love it. It's the visuals and the costuming and the filmography, the cinematography is just fantastic. I love that film. I love The Music Man, although it runs way too long and really needs some stuff in the middle cut out. I just really like musicals. It's probably because Mulan, I watched that a lot as a kid, maybe. I don't know. Maybe that's what Disney did to me. Instead of making me obsessed with fucking theme parks and adults dressed in costumes that you get your picture taken with, instead of making me obsessed with that like most people, it made me like obsessed and interested in musicals. So I have a list here of a couple of musicals that I have watched, not in person, unfortunately, but I have found various sources online to watch them. If you ever want to watch a musical or try to find a recording of it, a bootleg of it, for some reason, slime tutorial is like the code word for bootleg musicals. Don't tell anybody I told you this, but that's what it is for some reason, and I don't know why. That's just what it is. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 musicals here that I'm going to talk about at varying lengths. The first of which, I'm doing this kind of... Well, no, I'm not kind of doing it. I am doing it in alphabetical order. Again, the time codes are below. The first musical is CARRIE, based off of the Stephen King novel from 1974, CARRIE, as well as the adaptation CARRIE, and the other adaptation CARRIE, and the television adaptation CARRIE. Here's just like what, if you don't know what CARRIE is, here's what the brief write-up. CARRIE focuses on an awkward teenage girl with telekinetic powers whose lonely life is dominated by an oppressive religious fanatic mother. When she is humiliated by her classmates at the school prom, she unleashes chaos on everyone and everything in their path. It's the famous girl covered in blood, by pig's blood, screaming. I can't remember who plays her in the original film. I'm blanking completely. Now I gotta click it because it's on here. May as well find out. I mean, it's right here if it fucking loads. What is her fucking name? Sissy Spacek. I was going to say Susie. Sissy Spacek played her in the original film. Chloe Moretz, I think, played her in like a reboot or a remake of it. Let's see. So, CARRIE came out in 1974. About 14 years later, after the book, some people decided to make it into a musical. And it was not very well received. According to Wikipedia, it is considered one of the most notable failures in Broadway theater history. But in 2012, somebody was like, hey, I fucking love the CARRIE musical. I want to do it myself. I don't know if I'll be able to find who it was that did it. Let's see. Can I find a name of who worked on the original? Or not the original, the new... essentially, they rebooted it. They rebooted it with like new songs, new musical stylings. They just redid it all, and now it's like, it is. I've seen a lot of people complain, not a lot, but I've seen some people complain that it is too disconnected between genres of music. It's like it's rock, it's like slow classical kind of. It's like romance, but I fucking loved it. I loved everything about it. It's a really great musical. So like some of the differences are, in the original, it started with an orchestral overture, and then went into this song called In, which is an ensemble song by. It starts off. It's like, you know, you're in the in crowd kind of thing. It's about the girls in like their gym class, and it's all the characters that you'll meet essentially from the girls' side of the class, followed by CARRIE. And that is in the new version. And CARRIE is a fantastic song. It goes something along the lines of, nobody ever seems to get it right, CARRIE. Why don't they ever know my name, CARRIE? It's a beautiful like melody that is just fantastic. My favorite song of the whole thing is called The World According to Chris. And Chris is the main bully girl who's just a shitty person. She's the one who comes up with the idea to drop pig's blood on CARRIE. This comes after... I don't know about the original. I think the original is just a pretty straight adaptation of, you know, from book to film to musical. But the reboot it takes a little more liberties with how the story is told. And that is that Sue Snell, who is like one of, if not the only survivor of CARRIE's massacre, is interrogated by the police. So all the showings, you can find a lot of renditions of the CARRIE musical on YouTube, which is nice. You can find, like, you know, I found this one, I can't remember what it was. It's like Broadway Kids or something. It's this organization in fucking like Florida or somewhere, Miami. But it's like all, you know, high school age kids, so it's more, you know, authentic in that way. But they're just so fucking talented, and they're doing this musical, and it's really fun to watch. Just look up CARRIE musical full, maybe, I guess, and you'll find plenty of them. There's another great one where it's like a fucking, like, the stage looks like it looks like the fucking, like, cabinet of Dr. Caligari or something. Like, they get really weird with it in this one. But anyway, all the showings open up with Sue Snell being interrogated by the police, like detectives, trying to find out what the fuck happened at this school after everybody was murdered. Then it goes into the story, and periodically, I think it might, I don't remember how often it happens, I think it might be, I don't think it's every act, it's like every now and then it'll cut back to Sue in the present day, and then it'll flash back to the past of the events of CARRIE. And so anyway, The World According to Chris, and now that I've finally gotten to that one, is this rock theme, like real energetic, almost punky, metal-ish song about the main bully, Chris, proving why it's okay for her to be a piece of shit to CARRIE. Because Sue is the only one who feels bad. She's like, we should apologize, and she's at a party with Chris, and Chris is like, oh my god, what have you done to my best friend? Because nobody feels sorry for CARRIE. And then Sue busts out in the song, obviously, and the lines are stuff like, it's better to burn than get burned, you know, that's just the way things are, that's what my dad taught me. It's a fun song, and it shows what a piece of shit Chris is, but it also shows, like, you know, this is like how she was raised by terrible parents. Yeah, so I didn't think this through that much. This is sort of just me fawning over musicals that I like, and, you know, giving recommendations. This is one that I highly recommend. Like, you wouldn't think that a fucking CARRIE musical would be any good, but it's fantastic. I really dig it. I really, you know, I haven't seen the official versions. I haven't seen the ones from the 80s. I've seen clips of those, but there's a reason that they were sort of panned. And it's more slow moving. It's more melodramatic, whereas the one from 2012 and beyond was a complete revival. It changed it up completely. It brought an energy to the play, or to the musical, that it really needed, while still keeping the original. It's melodramatic in a doom and gloom sense, whereas the reboot is melodramatic in that it's almost soap opera-y, I guess. Maybe not. That's not the best way to do it, to describe it, but it's a lot more, played up in terms of, like, how the characters act. They're like bullying and everything, but there is still great amounts of heart and emotion conveyed through the different songs. There is we see Tommy, who is Sue's boyfriend, who I don't think was really in the original version that much. I think the original, it was mostly just focusing on CARRIE, like I said. The reboot, we see more characters in this one. We get more sides of the story, which is something I really like. I do really like the narrative device of having it be Sue sort of retelling, and then the audience gets to see how it all plays out. Act 2 opens with another incredible ensemble song called A Night We'll Never Forget, which is just glamorously catchy. It's CARRIE, Chris, Billy, who is Chris's shitty boyfriend, Sue, and the rest of the cast. It's all of them, preparing for the prom. And this is also something that just fascinates me. I've never been musically inclined, so I cannot process how this works. Like, I can't wrap my head around how these people, how do you translate CARRIE, the film and the book, into a musical? How do you decide what the songs would be? How do you do this? How did they go, okay, not Act 2, that's a perfect place to switch it to the prom. That makes sense. But then they go, A Night We'll Never Forget, and they write a whole fucking song about that, about, it's full of, innuendos about how everybody's gonna get killed, and how they're gonna have, sex after the prom and whatever. It's kind of a horny musical, too, which is fun. It's so fascinating to me how musically inclined people work like this, specifically in musicals like this, because writing music, it's something along all of itself. I don't know, the first person that came to my mind was Ariana Grande for some reason. She's incredibly talented, but the people that write musicals are doing two separate jobs combined. They're writing songs and music, but they're also conveying and telling a full story. And, I can wrap my head around the latter half of that, but I just have never been able to properly comprehend how musicals are written like this. Of course, it ends with the prom, it doesn't end, but it continues with the prom climax, which is, everybody... it's CARRIE being crowned queen of the prom, and then the destruction, which is fucking awesome. If you see different showings have different ways they convey this. The one I was talking about earlier, that Broadway Kids, if that's what it's called, they play with the lighting. They do some cool stuff where with body acting, where CARRIE's fucking throwing people across the stage. They go all out on that. Then CARRIE heads home. She kills her mother, kills herself, blah blah blah, and then it ends. Highly recommend it. Really, you could check out any showing that's on YouTube. They're all good, at least the ones I've watched. I enjoy watching how they do it in different ways and whatnot. So this is one all of these are ones that I highly recommend. Moving to something, oh my god, we're already at an hour 15. Fuck, this is gonna be long. Moving to a more recent addition to my watch list of musicals. Also because it's recent in that it came out in the past couple of years and is still going, and that is Beetlejuice. Did you know that there was a Beetlejuice musical? Because I did not before last week. And I was lucky enough to find a showing of it. I keep saying showing like it's some official thing. I found a bootleg of it online. Good luck finding these. They are a pain in the ass, and everybody who has them wants you to either pay or trade them with another musical. There is a subreddit for like musical bootlegs, so hey, check that out if you want to. If you skim through there, you might be able to find like a couple posts where people just freely post like a Google Drive or something, but you didn't hear it from me. That's just something that may or may not be happening. I have no idea. Beetlejuice is a fantastic musical. It is I don't really know, what genre it would be classified under. It's fucking fantastic. It opens up with Beetlejuice singing a fucking fantastic number about how everyone's dead and how dark this show is going to be, how it deals with death. He speaks to the audience directly throughout the show, breaks the fourth wall. And how he's invisible and nobody can see him, and that he hates that because he can't interact with anybody. And then it's just Beetlejuice. It just continues the song it just continues the film. And what's her name? Lydia and her Lydia and her father and his girlfriend, sort of secret girlfriend. She's like a life coach or something, I think is what they say in here. They move into the house that belonged to Adam and Barbara, who are recently deceased. And, then it just plays out from there. There's a lot of really fun songs. The guy who plays Beetlejuice, Alex Brightman, fucking brings such a fantastic energy to this version of the character. I really enjoy his performance. I hope nobody gets mad that I haven't, that I watched this through other means. But I doubt anybody's going to see this. It is fantastic. If you can, in any way, I don't know. If you're in New York, hey, go check out Beetlejuice. I think that's where it's showing currently, because it is still going. It started in 2018, 2019, took a pause for the pandemic, and now it's back, thankfully. But it is fantastic. I'll go through some of the songs. Let's see, what are there? There's the Banana Boat song, obviously. I don't know, now that I'm looking at these songs, there's not many that really stand out to me like there are with CARRIE. And maybe that's because I've watched more of the CARRIE musicals, because they're more readily available through, universities and college and high schools and amateur performances. Whereas this one is not. But this one was a hoot to watch. It is a lot of fun. It's just a fun ride from start to finish. The set looks fantastic. It has that weird shaped gothic vibe going for it. The only thing that I didn't personally care for was the edgy humor of it. There's not too much of it. A lot of it comes from Beetlejuice. It's a lot of topical, edgy humor that is eventually going to have to get updated or just ignored completely in future renditions of the show. He's the, oh yeah, Zoomers, stuff like that. He's making hipster jokes and shit. It might be like a Trump joke in there or something. I can't remember what all there is. But those things, it felt a little too, okay, do you have to do this stuff? Is this really necessary? I didn't find them very funny. Any of, the topical stuff. I didn't really care for. I was just like, okay, yeah, can we, move on? This is sort of embarrassing and cringy. But other than that, it's fantastic. A fantastic musical. You can read out what happens online on Wikipedia. I don't know if there's an official cast recording that's been released, but this is another one I highly recommend. Alright, we're almost at an hour and a half, so I'm just going to cut this down to 2 more. The last one I was going to talk about was the Spongebob musical, which is fucking awesome. It is incredible. It's a really fun show. Again, you can probably find it on YouTube, although they do sell it on home release. They have it on, I believe, Blu-ray, and I know on DVD. You can fucking go to Walmart and buy it. I've seen it there tons of times. It is fantastic. The costumes are superb. The acting is incredible. It sticks to, I'm sure, I don't know how much, what year did this come out? I think it was like 2016. Yeah. Let me see something. Who's the guy Steven Hillenburg. I don't think Hillenburg had any real part in this. Was he alive? When did he die? Yeah, he died in 2018, so he died after this came out. Which, kind of makes sense why it's so good, because I don't know how much of a part he had to play in this, but they capture the essence of the Hillenburg era of SpongeBob pretty damn well. So check that one out also. Check all of these out. Even if you're not into musicals, I still highly recommend them. Moving on to Evil Dead the Musical. Yes, they made a musical based on the Evil Dead trilogy in the early 2000s. First performed in 2003, and then it became a hit and eventually ran until 2006, 2007. And then after that, it just sort of went here and there. There's no real steady place that continues to show Evil Dead the Musical. Evil Dead the Musical is a rock musical, hailed, according to Wikipedia, as the next Rocky Horror Picture Show. And it's the plot of Evil Dead, but they also the first act is mostly Evil Dead. It goes up until Ash has killed everybody and he's alone in the apartment, and then from there, excuse me, it adapts Evil Dead 2 with Annie Nobi and her boyfriend and Jake the hillbilly. There's no Bobby Joe. They make a joke about how she's redundant in the story anyway, so they aren't including her. It's very fun and meta at times, but it's also they take a lot of creative liberties with what happens and the characters and the plot of the film. Like, they sort of mix and match some stuff up. They change when things happen, how it happens, but not to an point of extremity. That's not right. Not to an extreme point. I should have read through this Wikipedia articles before I did all this, so I'm not just sort of staring off into nothing. It is a very fun show. There's a great running gag where they come to, the famous bridge from the Evil Dead that they cross, and it breaks as they're driving across it. In the show, it's like this long and this tall, and it's like a tiny little bridge that they're like, okay, but first we gotta pass this rickety bridge to get to the cabin. And then some stagehand just shoves the fucking bridge from behind the curtains, and it just lands wherever it lands. It's so fun. And then later, when Ash and his sister are trying to escape, and they're like, oh my god, the bridge is out! And then the fucking light just bams down onto the bridge. And it's the same bridge, but they've put fucking little tiny wood beams spiking out of it to make it look kind of broken. And they just make such a big deal over this tiny little bridge. It's a really fun comedy show. The version that I saw, Scott is just like a piece of shit to basically everybody except for Ash. It's so campy, I think is the right word. None of it's played seriously. Everybody is so over-exaggerated, except ironically for Ash. He's pretty down to earth for the most part until he loses his mind and becomes the Ash we all know and love. But it is just a blast. It's unfortunate that there aren't really a whole lot of high-resolution recordings of the show. I wish there were, but I couldn't really find many. A lot of them were those early 2000s shows. I don't know why, though, because there have been a lot more recent ones. Maybe people have just been cracking down too much. I really want to see this in person. I found a showing in San Diego in October, and I really want to go and see it. So, Evil Dead, famous for its gore and its explosive use of blood. That means that the Evil Dead musical also has a lot of blood explosions. Not as much as I expected, at least nothing I could... Maybe it's because of the quality of the show that I watched, but I couldn't really make out that much. It didn't look like too much. But the first, 3 to 5 rows are dubbed the splatter zone. Because if you sit there, you're going to get splattered with some blood. And that is fucking just hilarious that they have a splash zone for the Evil Dead musical. It makes so much sense. There's a scene where Ash is battling the Deadites at the end, and he slashes one of them with his chainsaw, and the guy just flashes around to the audience, and there's blood just spraying over everybody. It is just an incredible experience. I would love to see it in person. I don't know if I will, though. But I would really like to one day. And Evil Dead the Musical is yet another musical I highly recommend. Moving on to the piece de resistance. And that is Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark. The infamous Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark, which was created by Julie Taymor, who... if you're unaware, she worked on the Broadway show for Lion King, which was a critical hit, with music by Bono and The Edge. I actually took a musical class in college. Not a theater sort of class, but we would, research and discuss and analyze musicals. And this was the one I chose to watch for, a paper, an essay. And my God, is it the most nonsensical fever dream I've ever seen. I'm not going to go into the whole part about, the aspects of the actors being injured and shit. That's been done. But, oh my God, is it fucking insane? This is another one. I was talking earlier about how that one showing of CARRIE looked like the cabinet of Dr. Caligari. This one basically is that. It's if a fucking German expressionist film was made under the guise of Spider-Man. Because, oh my God, there's a scene where, Peter's, on top of a giant, notebook or something like that, and he's having a nightmare about this spider goddess. Because that's the big villain of this show. What is her name? Arachne. Because who is a Greek mythological character, because for some reason they didn't want to use any of the normal characters as the actual villain. There is the Sinister Six, made up of Norman Osborn, the Green Goblin. Who else? Does it say? Why doesn't it say? Why am I not seeing who else? Where are they? That's weird. It's not listing them. It's the Green Goblin, Kraven, who instead of just a man in a costume, is a man in a costume with a giant fake head on of Kraven the Hunter. Carnage, for some reason. Electro. Swarm, the Nazi maid of bees, and Lizard. And now the Lizard design is the weirdest of all of them. Oh, also there is Swiss Miss. I'm sorry. Swiss Miss is also on here. Swiss Miss. You may not recognize that name. That's not because it's an obscure Spider-Man character from half an issue from 1964 or something. That's because Swiss Miss was made specifically for this show. For some reason. She's a bitch with a bunch of knives. Lizard is a fucking weird costume. Because... oh my God. It's so fucking weird because it's like an inflatable lizard costume, but it doesn't look like one of those like T-Rexes from Jurassic Park costumes that were all the rage years ago and are still hilarious. I don't care what anybody says. I saw one of them when I was at Phoenix Comic Con and I loved it. They are so dumb looking. It's not like that. It's not a full body suit that the guy wears. It's not makeup. It's not anything you're expecting. Instead, it looks like the Curt Connors has had a genetic nuclear mutation with a giant lizard. Because, for some reason, the body and the arms is the lizard, but the way it's proportioned and the where the head comes from, which is the center of the chest. So there's just a big lizard head coming right here out of this man's chest, and then the tail coming out the back. So it looks like it's just like a lizard head has protruded out of this man's body through some sort of vile mutation, and like his normal human self is on top, which is a cool idea. Don't get me wrong, that is a crazy like body horror adaptation of the lizard, in that he doesn't turn into a lizard. Instead, a lizard grows out of him, and it's disgusting, and like he's part lizard and part man. No, that's not what it's supposed to be. It's just that they didn't bother hiding his face or his head or anything. They just let him wear his lab coat and have his little head peeking out from behind. They didn't even put him in like the black onesie spandex thing. So this has... Also, when I said he's on a giant notebook, I'm pretty sure it's a giant typewriter or keyboard, because the Daily Bugle. Oh my god, it is just nonsensical. When Peter gets his powers, he's doing a book report on Arachne, and then they go and visit the lab of Osborn. It's sort of based on the Raimi films. But, you know, after all that happens, Arachne's there, and they're doing the JMS, the Totem of Spiders bullshit, or whatever, because Arachne is the goddess of weavers. And she's like a giant spider woman, which, I'll be honest, the costume does look cool. You know, Peter goes, and what does he do after he gets his powers, before he learns great responsibility? He tries to make it rich, and becomes a wrestler. So he enters a wrestling tournament. The wrestling against Crusher Creel is not a man. Instead, it is this weird, distorted boxing wrestling ring, and Crusher Creel is two puppeteers, or no, it's one puppeteer in like hey, don't look at me suit, I'm not here. And the Crusher Creel is a 8-foot-tall inflatable man. It's not like a realistic looking man, it's like a cartoon man. It's a giant inflatable man that Spider-Man wrestles. And that's what it is. Spider-Man, Uncle Ben gets shot. We see that happen. He learns great power, great responsibility. Norman Osborn, he starts testing his shit on himself. Also, the Sinister Six, they're all genetic and whatever, and he comes up with a plan. I think he gets like his board of directors or his former employees or something to all get trapped in a room where they genetically are altered to become Carnage, Electro, Kraven the Hunter, Lizard, Swarm, and Swiss Miss. Only about maybe 2 of those make sense. But then, the Sinister Six go on a rampage, and it's been a while since, so I am reading the Wikipedia article. There's this whole fucking fight scene. They're doing like aerial shit above the audience with Goblin and Spider-Man. The Green Goblin faces off against Spider-Man. And what happens? Oh my god, I forgot. I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit. Jameson makes a deal with Goblin to like stop Spider-Man or something. Or no, he just thinks that whatever Jameson's doing, it's not important. He thinks that Spider-Man's in league with Goblin. One of those ways it's set up. Mary Jane and Peter have some relationship issues. Let's see. And then, you know, he has to get back together, and he steals his costume from the Bugle. It's Spider-Man 1 and 2. And 3, kind of, I guess. But, let's see. He learns that the Goblin has hidden bombs around the city. Or something along those lines. He's going to destroy New York for some reason. How does he do this? Where does Spider-Man find the Green Goblin at? Well, where do you think Spider-Man finds the Green Goblin at? If you said atop the Chrysler Building playing a piano like an evil Elton John, you'd be correct. Because that is exactly what he is doing. He sings to the audience about how he's going to take over New York and destroy it or whatever. Spider-Man shows up. They fight a little bit. Green Goblin reveals that he has kidnapped Mary Jane Watson. They do battle some more. Goblin is webbed to his piano. And it's basically the end of Batman 89. In that the piano gets thrown overboard, overside the building, and the Goblin is pulled with it, and he falls to his death off the Chrysler Building. And that is how the Green Goblin is vanquished. And Spider-Man saves Mary Jane. He reveals who he is. They embrace, and nothing comes of Arachne being in the show. It is a fucking awful experience. I felt like I was going mad while watching it, but goddamn am I happy that I did, just so I can say that I once watched it. It was a massive critical and financial failure. I don't think it ever made it past the previews to actual showings, and you might be able to find it on YouTube. It goes back and forth between if it's on there or not. But yeah, those are my list of musicals based off of other properties. Some of the other ones that I didn't get a chance to talk about are Little Shop of Horrors, obviously. It's basically the exact same. Back to the Future, which is one that I did try and find, but could not. I guess it's just too recent. But there are some clips on YouTube if you want to check them out. They are pretty fun looking. There's apparently a Beetle Bailey musical, which I talked about. I discussed that very briefly when I did the episode on newspaper comic strips, but I don't think any recordings of this exist at all. And then there's the SpongeBob one. There's tons more, but these were the main ones that I really enjoy, that I really dig. I've been saying so much, I apologize. This is the end of the episode. I'm trying to bring up my phone to see my notes, to remember what am I talking about next week. As always, let me know what you thought of this episode in the comments below. With Miss Marvel, Obert-Wan, Benobi, what did you think of the ending of Obi-Wan? What did you think of my musical discussion? Are you going to check any of these out? If you do check them out, let me know what you thought in the comments. What did you think of Lightyear? Are you interested in Miracle Man coming to Marvel? Let's see. Join me next week. Oh my gosh, I just completely realized I was in... Oh my goodness. I didn't talk about Destructo Boy. That's how you know I'm not feeling good. And I'm not all there in my noggin right now. Is that I didn't talk about Destructo Boy. Destructo Boy, the Era of Alpha Cardinal, Part 1 of 2 is on sale now at Etsy.com/shop/Blake T. Wild. $9.99 for physical, $5 for digital. Physical copies do come with a free head sketch of any character of your choosing that you pick from. You can pick any character, Obi-Wan Kenobi. It can be Swiss Miss from the Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark musical. It can be Deku from My Hero Macadamia. It can be anything. I will include it. I have finished working on that comic project that I've been talking about. Got the coloring done. I just need to letter, and that won't take me very long. So I can finally start focusing again on Destructo Boy. So issue 2 is coming, so pick up issue 1 while you can. Again, Etsy.com/shop/Blake T. Wild. Make sure you capitalize the B, T, and W, baby. Next week, I don't have much on here in terms of notes yet, But I'll be talking about Miss Marvel Episode 4 and also, what is that show called? The Only Murders in the Building, Season 2. So check those out if you can or if you want to, because I'm going to be talking about them. Also, I'm going to be talking about more comic book stuff. I got some new comics in the mail. Check out for those. Really losing my train of thought. I'm just falling apart here at the end, really. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this fucking episode. I should have sung it now that I think about it. Oh my god, it's almost 2 hours. That's what happens when you get me talking about musicals. Stay tuned for next week, and I will see you then. Stay safe. Bye.